Hi, this is Tammy Anderson, and today I'm going to be discussing with you social emotional learning. I will attach this video here at the end so you can see and hear how I got started um, with social emotional learning. Now, trauma affects everyone from a young age, and as music educators, we can help the masses of people that have been affected. And we do this by using SEL techniques in our music classroom. So let's go on a journey with me and let's discuss ways we can help. There are many risk factors of trauma and that we can be aware of. Trauma, there's feelings of helplessness, they have a diminished sense of self, and they have an inability to feel a full range of emotions and experiences. And in the elementary classroom, emotions and experiences are what we really focus on, and having empathy for others. Now, it doesn't matter where we come from. Everyone has had some type of trauma in their life. If you have a single parent, if you live in a single parent household, there's trauma. If you had a person or a parent that had a long-term illness or depression, there's trauma. And we've all been affected by the COVID-19 trauma. And you may have seen this in your classroom with students having developed anxiety, depression. They have disruptive problem behaviors. They have some sleep disorders, and we have even have substance abuse disorders and suicidal symptoms. Now, don't think that just because we're in elementary that we don't see suicidal symptoms. I've had two kids in the past 3 years that have had suicidal symptoms and have actually tried, unfortunately. Now, in the music classroom, this quote says, I used to teach 80% music and 20% behavior, but now it's more like 80% behavior and 20% teaching. I'm not sure if you can relate to that, but I know I sure can. So what is SEL? SEL is social emotional learning is defined as a process through which children and students acquire and effectively apply the knowledge, the attitudes, and the skills to understand and manage emotions, set goals, feel and show empathy for others, and establish, maintain positive relationships and make responsible decisions. And there was a group called KAZEL that was made in 1994, which is a collaboration for academic, social, and emotional learning. That was where therapists and educators came together and they created this. And they are the leading authority on social emotional learning. So the benefits of a school-wide SEL is where we have higher attendance, there's larger graduation rates, and there's fewer disciplinary referrals. So how does this relate to music? So in music, we can have these 5 steps. First step is self-awareness. This is identity. Uh, we can help. Music provides opportunities for students to learn who they are and to help regulate their emotions. The second component is social awareness. They get to know the people around them. They can focus on empathy and they can have respect. The third component is decision making, where the students identify problems and they own up to their own problems. He did it, she did it. No, no, ma'am, no, Miss Anderson, I did it. Making good choices. The fourth component is self management, having self motivation, self control, their time management. They can have goal setting. And the fifth component is communication, because music provides an opportunity for students to um, communicate with each other when we make music together. Now, there are a few things that we must know to help our students, and it's Maslow before Bloom. In our human learning course that we learned that Maslow had, he has a hierarchy of needs that have to be met before learning can begin. And Bloom is just where there is the learning, the depths of learning. So we can't have a depth of learning if we don't have Maslow. If the kids don't feel safe, if they don't feel like they belong and are loved, then they will have a hard time learning. So it's Maslow before Bloom. And that's one of the biggest things that we have to think about in our classroom. And to help think about that, we have a positive classroom. We have to make an environment positive. All right, we have to make sure that we set and maintain clear expectations. We have a welcoming environment, that student engagement is high, and that when there issues do arise, that we use de-escalation techniques. We actively listen, or we show empathy. We use nonverbal gestures. We use a neutral tone, voice tone, and then we can provide lighting, personal space that has low lighting. All right. Now, some of the examples of how we can show these positive classroom is have students tap an emoji on a sheet of paper as they come in the door, showing what kind of emotions they are feeling that day. And then you can do it as they exit. So we're helping children become aware of their emotions. And then we can have mindful moments where the students take a few minutes to notice their breathing, their thoughts, what they're feeling, what they're sensing. And I do those right there a lot when the students come in to my classroom. This Learn framework is excellent. Now this I like to use on me. I'm looking forward, I encourage, I adapt, I reinforce, and I nurture. And I'm using this with my students, teaching them to use I feel statements. And I evaluate myself on if I have any cultural biases. And so this is basically focusing on you and making sure you're right. So when you're right, you can teach others. You can be a good example for other people. Now here's a preschool example of a plan, of 8-week plan where study was on the focus of emotions. And the control group had an improvement of 12.9%, where the experiment group had an improvement of 8.5%. So this was statistically significant. And these people used Orff instruments to improvise. They did dancing, they did role playing, they used drums, they acted out a story from a book. They danced, and they're all about showing that. Though my favorite one was they climbed aboard an imaginary ship and went to a deserted island. So these were all talking about about their emotions every week. There's a high need for professional development with this because we do not learn about this in our undergraduate degrees. And music is so important. Could we possibly be on the cusp of a new era by incorporating social emotional learning in our music programs? Here are my references. And here are my resources. You can check back and the resource page will increase over time. As I find a new video, I'm going to post a link there. I hope you enjoyed social emotional learning.
Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Anderson, the class called out my name. I walked into the hallway and I saw their faces strained. Like a mother hen, I gathered them beneath my wings so wide. 16 little hearts in need of comfort by my side. What happened here, they whispered, tears were shining in their eyes. Cameron got choked today, the pain was no surprise. Music heals the broken soul. It lifts us when we fall. Through every note and melody, we find the strength to call. A song for Cameron we will sing to mend the hurt inside. Let music be the light that guides us through the darkest tide. My training never taught me how to face a day like this, but silence fell like gentle rain, and then a voice said, please, can we make a song for him to help us understand? And through the chords and harmonies, we held each other's hands. The music flowed like rivers, washing all the pain away. And though the lesson changed today, we found a better way. Music heals the broken soul. It lifts us when we fall. Through every note and melody, we find the strength to call. A song for Cameron we will sing to mend the hurt inside. Let music be the light that guides us through the darkest tide. Music heals the broken soul. It lifts us when we fall. Through every note and melody, we find the strength to call. A song